Thank you very much. Thank you. To Dahlia, the Rabin family, President Rivlin, President Peres, former Prime Minister Barak, other leading political figures, and I thank Ambassador Dan Shapiro from the United States for being here with me. Yesterday, when I was in Jerusalem, I did as I have on every trip to Israel for 20 years. I went to Mount Herzl and stood alone at the gravesite of Yitzhak and Leah Rabin. I thought about his life, the lessons that he imparted, and the legacy that he left to all of us. His life was full and rich, full of love, family, friendship, and service. He defended the country, but more important for tonight, and especially for the young people who had so much to do with this event, he advanced the values fundamental to Israel. He stood for freedom and peace, the acceptance of those who are different from us, and the preservation of democracy. I learned a lot as Yitzhak Rabin's partner for peace. I watched him at every turn refuse to do the easy thing, which is to deny evident facts. I saw whenever there was a problem, he wanted to solve it, not turn away from it or deny it. When he signed the peace accord on the White House lawn in September of 1993, he said to the Palestinians that we are destined to live together on the same soil, in the same land. When I asked him why he had decided to do this, he said there are two reasons. First, I do not believe in the modern world that the little bit of land on the West Bank offers us permanent security in the face of modern technology. And second, I never want to see Israel come to a democratic crossroads, whether we will have to decide whether to be a Jewish but no longer a democratic state, or a democratic but no longer a Jewish state. I think we should share the future with the Palestinians. The second thing I learned is that after all the fighting and battles he engaged in, he never stopped seeing other people, including his adversaries, as human beings whose children were entitled to the same possibilities in life as his own. The third thing that I learned from him, most important for you tonight in this complex and challenging moment, is he refused to give up his dream of peace in the face of violence. Whenever there was a terrible incident here and I would call him, he simply repeated what we in the White House came to know as Rabin's Law. We will fight terror as if there were no negotiations, but we will negotiate as if there were no terror. Finally, and in a more personal way, I learned a lot about how Yitzhak Rabin made a choice we all make every day. Think about it. Every day when you wake up, even before you're conscious of all of the things you have to do, you're a little more hopeful or a little less hopeful than you were the day before. Some days we feel good when we wake up and we look at the world thinking we can do whatever it is we want. Some days we're more discouraged. Every day you have to choose hope over fear, empowerment over acceptance, confidence over cynicism. Rabin's legacy, in one way, is clear and untouchable. He risked his life to create and defend Israel. He spent his life serving Israel to advance your values and your interests. And he gave his life so that you could live in peace. What does it all amount to? Now that is up to you. And 10 years ago, when I was honored to stand in this space, I said if I could miraculously bring Rabin back to life and he were standing here with me, he would say, enough of this bragging about me. Let's get back to work and finish what I gave my life to do. You were caught up in your version of the global struggle between those who favor cooperation over those who favor conflict, between modern means of cooperation and modern methods of murder. It is very modern in one way and profoundly ancient in another. For at the root of all you saw in that film, at the root of people who had the gall to present a picture of him in a Nazi uniform or made up as Hitler, is their answer to a simple question: who am I, and what is my relationship to others? Rabin believed that he became more human as he was able to recognize the humanity of others, more human as he was able to reach across past divides to make a peaceful future. And those who wanted to do away with him believed just the opposite. And so, all of you now must decide, when you leave here and the beautiful music, the moving films, the stunning story of his life, how to finish his legacy. For the last chapter must be written by the people he gave his life to save and to nourish. I can tell you this. Whether we were arguing, agreeing, laughing, or crying, Yitzhak Rabin knew who he was. He knew what he believed. He knew why he loved Israel and what he wanted it to become. He believed that democracy and freedom and peace through cooperation over conflict were essential to the futures of the young people in this audience who were not even alive when he gave his life for them. I always thought the role of the United States was to provide whatever support necessary to ensure Israel's existence and security, and then to maximize the benefits and minimize the risks of peace. But in the end, the decision is yours. One of the great benefits of a long life is meeting more and more people and caring for more people and loving more people. I came to love your Prime Minister. The day he was killed was probably the worst day of my 8 years as president. But it's important to realize that he was perfectly aware of what happened to him, that it could happen. And he was aware that it could happen at the hands of a fellow Israeli who disagreed with him about sharing the future. Don't forget, not long before, President Sadat of Egypt was killed by a fellow Egyptian who disagreed with him for making peace with Israel. And not so long before that, the great Mohandas Gandhi was killed by a fellow Hindu who disagreed with him because he wanted a democratic India for all the people who live there. This is an old story. You can make it new again. The next step in the magnificent journey of Israel, already a titan of high-tech discovery and prosperity, already an amazing volcano of energy, already a beacon of democracy in a region that has too little of it. The next step will be determined by whether you decide that Yitzhak Rabin was right, that you have to share the future with your neighbors, that you have to give their children a chance too, that you have to stand for peace, that the risk for peace are not as severe as the risk of walking away from it. Those of us who loved him and love your country are praying that you will make the right decision. May God bless his memory and the future of the country he gave his life to serve.
Thank you, President Clinton.